Why did you pick this topic today?
That's a good question. Why did I pick the topic? Well, I've been following Dr. Jordan Peterson for a while since he kind of came into the light.
We both have.
Since, Bill C-16 was proposed up there in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And once he started putting out his content, I saw the intellectual prowess of the man and what a mind of our time, and has seen his evolution over the years. And I've got to say I'm partial to his, I'm going to call it like the original content that I came to know. And
which is what, the 12 steps of life kind
well,
of stuff?
Yes, that was in the
Maps
era
of meaning and all that.
Yes, in that era. But I think his use of archetypal stories to, put out the narrative that he was seeing and pulling from his psychological career was very impactful. And for me, finding comfort in men need to be a monster, right? Men need to be dangerous, not just should be, but it's necessary. That kind of thing was extremely helpful for me to feel that I have a monster within me and that I am capable of being a monster, but I keep that sword in the sheath. And I've felt like that since I was a little kid. And hearing someone say, not only is that okay, but it's necessary, was very helpful for me to calm maybe the questions surrounding that down a little bit.
Got it.
I don't think I answered your question on all of that.
No, you said you've been following Dr. Peterson, and he's in the news, so that's what makes sense.
So I've been following, and then
this is a pretty big time story, currently.
Yeah. So he would touch on biblical topics and use it no different than he would use Pinocchio or Disney stories regarding the message he was trying to get across. And he would literally interchange a Bible verse as quickly and easily as he would interject a Disney story. And that evolved to the point that he was then dominating his narrative with the Bible, with scripture. And obviously with what he's done with the Daily Wire and unpacked all that. But him not proclaiming that he is a Christian, flat out saying it, or that he believes in God, flat out saying it, has kind of irked me over the last couple of years. And I want to unpack that a little bit with you.
Why has it irked you? Because you want to see someone stand by their convictions? Or why is it so, I know for me, but why does it irk you? Because he's a man of principle?
I don't know. Why does it irk me?
Why does it irk these punk kids that did that? Or any atheist or anybody else who's trying to take him out?
Yeah. Well, I think
those people are trying to take him out. That kid was trying to take him out.
I think Dr. Peterson has a target on his back.
Sure.
Right? And has for years. So I think he's an easy target in that sense. He's not an easy target.
Well, anybody that takes hard stances is a target.
Yes. And so why does it irk me? I guess I guess the lack of understanding behind it. I have a few theories on why I think he does it the way he does it, that he unpacks the Bible in such great depth to the point that he monetizes it, right, with his lessons and lectures and, behind a paywall of the Daily Wire and things of that nature. But
the original Genesis lectures were breaking down the psychology of the story. He went into it with that approach years ago. However long ago. And it's been so long. They were fantastic. My gosh, he talked for 2.5 hours on the first paragraph or the first 4 sentences of Genesis. But that's what his original intent was, if I'm not mistaken, was to psychologically unpack the Bible book by book. And that's what those long lectures were. Did you ever listen to any of those?
No.
I think that was the initial aspect of how he began to talk about the Bible so much. I'm sorry, my eyes are bothering me. Anyway, I didn't mean to interject, but I'm just curious to know why it bothers so many people and has, is a target. And, other than the fact that you take bold stances and then, that whatever enemies you have and wherever they come from, they're going to try to take you out for whatever reason. And if you go to the Canadian bill, since then, the left has had a target on his back, and now he's going into the biblical part. You may say whatever, but if it's warfare, spiritual warfare. So much that to me from what I saw. But go ahead. I just was curious to know why you are irked by that.
I guess I'd like to bridge the gap between why he would take such a strong stance, right? And spend all the hours, I mean, we're talking years at this point, building up his catalog of biblical lectures and series and time discussing it, when at the end of the day, you don't have a stance that you are willing to, I don't want to say proclaim, but you're not willing to state. You just want to talk about it intellectually, and that's fine. But there are other examples of that. There are other individuals that will do that, that will talk about biblical knowledge, history, and say, and I don't believe in this. And why won't he say it either way? I guess I just don't fully understand his why, and I think that's what gets to people is like, well, why not? Why not take a stance? I mean, if you spend all this time understanding this and you want to, debate it, I guess, why hasn't he drawn his own conclusion yet? And if he has, why won't he say that conclusion? And how much good would it do? Here's a good question. How much good would it do if he, in someone in his position, with the megaphone that he has, with the knowledge that he has, with how many young men in particular, his audience, follow him, how much good would it do if he were to proclaim, yes, I believe in God. Yes, I believe that Christ died on that cross and was resurrected and died for our sins, and I believe in every word. How much good would that do?
For me, it'd be great. If you're a Christian and you want to see that propelled, the gospel propelled, it'd be fantastic. One more with somebody like that, to a platform or whatever you want to call it, like that, who's preaching the gospel. Man, good grief, how many people you could save on the way. That'd be incredible discipleship, I believe that he's approaching it in a different way, in the fact that there has to be a moral standard for living, and he's using the Bible as an example of that. And that's what he's chosen to break down as a good moral standard for living. There has to be something to point to. And he picks on the atheist, or people pick on the atheist, because they don't have the belief system, belief in nothing. I just think that's so flippin' idiotic. There's nothing, there's all this just poof, bang. And we have the wonders that we have around us, you included, as far as wonders go. And, I think he chose as a moral standard of living that biblically these stories have so much psychological impact on the human mind and behavior that you can dive deep into one line of any portion of the Bible, and people have been doing it for thousands of years and find a way to live as a moral compass, if you will, on a basic level. Not basic, because you can go as deep as you want, but I think that's why, one of the reasons why he does the biblical stuff.
So that would explain why he pursues the biblical narrative and uses that as the pathway to the guiding North Star, if you will, to living a moral life. Mm-hmm. And agree that that's part of his intention, is to steer people to live a moral life. But why use the Bible when he can do that with Harry Potter, which he does regularly?
Because what a terrible comparison.
He uses Harry Potter to tell certain stories, just like he uses Pinocchio and
morality
so on and so forth.
On an in-depth level
Well,
like that.
but-
I know about the truth and the Pinocchio and the darkness and all of that, and that's so prevalent in that one interaction right there. The darkness of that kid right there, who is sent, and he should see that.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. You know, and he should know. He should have seen that. That's just, you know, he's read the Screw Tape Letters. There he is right there.
Sure.
So, but why choose the Bible over a book like that? Because I believe he believes it to be more than fictional. I mean, more. It's written over thousands of years, and these stories, they're not stories. They're real. And so why choose that over Pinocchio? I mean, that's...
And so
to me, that's apples or oranges. That the Pinocchio is just an example of, you know, there's no comparison to that in my mind.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would draw that comparison, but the way that he has, again, that original tactic of his was to call to those things. Well, what I'm trying to get at is if you're using the Bible as your footprint or as your map, as your guide to live a moral life, and you're teaching that, I'm not going to say preaching that, but you're teaching that to, you know, the world with that big of a platform, why wouldn't you do that from a stance of proclaiming your own belief? Why stop that last step shy? Would it be to not disenfranchise certain people so that you're seen as like a Bible thumper? I mean, again, I have my theories on this, but I'm asking you, why do you think that he stops? Why does he stop short? Why is he so combative on the question?
Maybe God's not done with him yet. Maybe God's not through with breaking him down or tearing him. You know, there's glory at the end of all struggle, and maybe God's not done with him yet.
Okay, so
I think he's using him, and I think there's going to be something else come more powerful out of this, and you know, whatever. But I don't think God's done with Jordan Peterson.
Yeah,
that's my
agreed.
opinion.
Okay, so one of the reasons that sparked this conversation today, anyway, I mean, this has been going on for years, this debate. Does Jordan Peterson believe in God? Why won't he say it out loud? Why is he so combative when people ask, do you believe in God? So the YouTube channel Jubilee just did one of their sessions, and they're known for doing these kind of roundtable formats where you've got 20 people on one stance, and then you've got one person on the opposing stance in the middle, right? There's a number of these that they've done. So they would take 20 Democrats versus one Republican, or 20 whatever versus one something. And so this YouTube episode came out with the title, One Christian versus 20 Atheists. Okay. And Jordan Peterson was the representing Christian, at least so the title of the YouTube episode suggested. And that, of course, got picked apart throughout the episode. And so we've pulled a few clips here from that I'd like to play kind of one by one, and we'll discuss them.
So right there, to me, he had to have known that the title existed. Why would you step in that arena? Why would you do this? Is this all a setup of some kind for publicity? Why would you do that? Could be one of the smartest men in the world. Why would you do that if you're stepping in that Jubilee thing? And I've never watched a whole Jubilee. I know what it is. I've seen Charlie Kirk on it. I've seen other people on it. I've never watched one. I didn't watch this one. I saw his clip and then the portion of the clip with the little demon there. And so why would you do that? That makes no sense to me, because the kid asks him, you know, why are you here? Why would you take that title on? And then why did they change it? You know, there's a thing of your gigantic skeptical nature is, why in the world would you do that?
Yeah.
You should say, no. I'm here maybe to debate Christianity, but I'm not going to declare my belief today. But you did it. What the heck is that? I don't I'm full stop right there. I don't get it. I don't get that whole thing.
Yeah.
Because he knows better than that. I mean, did his publisher, hey, Jordan, just walk into the circle. Good luck.
Right.
No.
Right. With how many requests he gets and how selective he is for what he does and what he spends his time on. I mean, 10 out of 10 selective. And
So what other purpose does it serve? Publicity?
don't know what he doesn't. How much more publicity could he need? He's got one of the biggest platforms in the world. There's only a handful of people that top him in terms of.
But go ahead.
So anyway, I mean, let's play a clip. We're gonna chip through these and we'll kind of break them down one by one. But
let's bear in mind that I've only heard one portion of this. I myself may be being set up right now.
You're not being set up. There's no surprises here. Everything.
I'm not worried about
So in me watching this entire episode, which I did, I don't know that he said anything new that he hasn't already said to 50 other people interviewing him. 50 is a low number there. I mean, he said the same stuff on Tucker and to Ben Shapiro and to everybody else. And that's why it's an ongoing thing. And that's why I want to discuss it is like, where is this coming from? And again, I have my thoughts on it that we'll maybe get to eventually. Okay, let's kick this off with the first clip.
Oh, if we can't get to your thoughts, then I'm walking out the door.
Yeah, getting to my thoughts is need a roadmap
of meaning.
I understand that. So what I'm specifically pointing out here is about religion in particular, since you yourself are a Christian, right?
That's people debate about that, and I generally don't discuss it publicly.
Okay, I understand that.
So his response shuts that question down with, I don't discuss that publicly.
So it goes back to the title. And if you are a Christian, right there, and you do proclaim Christ, okay, that means there's denial there. You don't do that. And all that I've read and learned and felt is if you are a Christian, you proclaim it. And you are the fifth gospel. You spread it. Because if you believe it, it is the Great Commission. You are supposed to spread the word. That it counted for me. That's Christianity. And he may say, I believe that Jesus rose. Okay? He died, he rose. You may believe that. But if you don't believe that all of that sacrifice counted for you to remove your sinful nature as a human, then that's the step of Christianity. But
so that doesn't
that answers the question of whether he's a Christian or not. That answers the question. He's not.
Okay. Let's play another clip.
Again, I'm not getting all the context prior to or post, but to me, hey, yes, sir, I love Jesus Christ, and by gosh, I do. I love Jesus Christ. I'll tell you right now, I love him. Love him to death.
That's what everyone watching here would expect to hear from that question to any Christian in the world. Like, hey, do you believe in God? Are you a Christian? And they would hear that response.
Right.
So why, when it comes to Jordan Peterson, with all of his knowledge,
won't he proclaim?
Why won't he take that step? And why is he so combative? Here he wasn't combative, but he typically has three answers to "Do you believe in God?" And one is what you just saw is I don't really care to discuss that.
Possibly overthinks the fact that he's like, if I state that I'm a Christian, then that means that I have to pick up my cross and never sin. If I believe that it's that way, then I'll know I'll never live up to the standard. Of course you won't. That's the point. But I've heard him say that about if I proclaim I believe something and get real weepy, about it. And you think, okay, say it. But any of this doesn't take away from his advancement of the gospel, of the stories. It does not take away what he's done to put the gospel in front of people and educate them on the Bible. You can't take that away. That with this platform, regardless of whether he says I love Jesus or what have you, I don't want to say that out loud, whatever he says, you cannot deny any Christian that wants to. And I'm not vilifying the guy. I'm for the guy. Of course, I'm for everybody to find Jesus. But he has been monumental with his platform. advancing the stories of the Bible, not the stories, the Bible, across the globe. And so many people have discovered the Bible because of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Whether he says I am or not.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't take, if Michael Jordan misses a shot, it doesn't take away the fact that he's maybe arguably the best basketball player that ever lived, just because he missed how many thousands of shots through his career. And I think he is scared to pick up the cross and try to carry it. I think that I'll build on that a little bit over time through this episode,
Okay,
but I think he is scared to pick up that cross because he has such a large platform. I think it's easier for, no one has a clue who I am walking around the streets. I can go anywhere with complete anonymity and no one looks to me to carry the cross. So if I go out in public and I sin, I'm going to use the word crucified for that. Whereas if he makes a mistake carrying the cross with the platform that he has, all eyes on him all the time.
Then here come the Pharisees and the Sadducees pointing the finger. Look at you, hypocrites, people.
That's right.
Hypocrites. If you truly understand, though, then no one can live it. None of us deserve what he's done for us. None of us deserve that. Yet, that's the point. You can't do anything to earn it. It's by faith.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to hit you with another clip.
I love this. Is why you did it. So me and you can talk about Jesus.
Matt needs a platform to expand his megaphone to talk about Jesus. And I feel like this is a perfect segue between popular topics, pop culture, I'll say.
That's why I asked you the question in the beginning.
All right, let me throw it to another clip here.
I know you better than you think I do.
The statement that Christ makes in the Gospels, he says, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven.
So not that they're even saying that they believe in God, but they just...
I know, but that's why I'm saying this to you, is that Christ himself points out that there's a difference between people who say they believe and people who act it out. And the fundamental issue is the action rather than the stated belief.
So is that consistent
Okay, so
with anything else?
it depends on. So if he's talking about by works, faith by works, no, that's not how you. No, it's by grace. It's by His grace. It's not by anything. I'm saved, so therefore I want to act like I am just because I want to be worthy of what He's done for me. Not because I'm going to go do this for Brandon for a good deed today. I want to be kind and nice and joyous and all those things, which I fail at all the time. All the time. I want to be those things, to be like Him. And to exhibit joy, the joy I have. He saved my life. I've seen His face. I've also seen the devil's face. But you can't earn it. There's no earning it. Anything that says that you have to work to earn His grace, that's why it says, not everyone who calls Lord, Lord will enter the kingdom. Because, you can't earn it. It is grace. It's given by faith.
And you think here
and that partially may be why he takes the stance of, can you play that again?
Yeah.
Real quick, please. I want to hear the first part of that.
The statement that Christ makes in the Gospels, he says, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven.
So not that they're even saying that they believe in God, but they just...
I know, but that's why I'm saying this to you, is that Christ himself points out that there's a difference between people who say they believe and people who act it out. And the fundamental issue is the action rather than the stated belief.
So
I'm wondering what that he's actually interpreting in action. If he's saying by works, or is he just saying, if you receive Christ and you truly believe by faith, you want to draw closer to him and be and exhibit the characteristics of love, compassion, and joy, and giving, and kindness, and the fruits of the Spirit, all those things. That's what you want to be like. But I can't go out and change someone's tire on the side of the road and claim good deed. Hey, he sees me, he's going to save me because of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what he's alluding to or not, but that also points back to why I think he may get weepy when he feels like saying "I believe." That his terminology. If I say that, that means that God is going to scrutinize my every action to the point of I won't be. No, regardless, you're not deserving it. He loves you anyway. He loves you.
Yeah. I have a feeling he means walking the walk more in this context. I think he's referring to just walking the walk according to Scripture, as opposed to
Which is
acts,
kindness and caring and
Right.
helpfulness and all
Right.
those things.
I have a feeling
that you
that-
exhibit.
I have a feeling that that's what he's referring to more than earning it by
Okay.
changing that tire.
Okay, well,
That's what I think.
okay. I think maybe a combination of the two.
He's known for being precise with his words, right? And his meaning, and debating every word to define every word. And
What do they have? 3 minutes?
in this format, I honestly do not like this format at all. It's maybe great for virality, but I don't think it's great for productivity. There's a 20-minute timer. I think it's 20 minutes on a particular premise. So in this case, Jordan Peterson would say, now I'm forgetting his premises. He only had 3 through the episode or so. And he would say, meaning I'm the one in the middle, right? I, the Christian, believe that Jesus died for our sins. And now the atheist would come up and debate that premise. That wasn't a premise that he said, and then they have 20 minutes to get through that one premise. And now each person in the chair can get voted out with flags by the people around them. They're like, hey, you're not getting anywhere. Get out of the chair. Someone else should take over. And they get voted out. So mid-conversation, cut, get out, somebody else comes in. And they pick up where they left off. Again, not a very productive premise, but...
Demon set this up too, huh?
Oh, man.
All right. So
right.
that was I would like to watch her exchange.
Let me hit you with this is further into her
Okay.
dialogue. So I'll kind of pick up. I'm cutting out some of the things she's saying because I want to focus on Dr. Peterson and just discuss his side of things. So
Yeah, so imagine that full Christianity would involve a dozen things. And you can imagine someone who knows nothing of Christianity, say, acting out 8 of them.
Right.
Right.
So
then they'd be 8/12 Christian or something like
8/12
that.
Christian.
Well,
but to be like a full Christian, how can someone say I am Christian? Like I am Christian, not 8/12, but Christian.
I hesitate to do that personally because I think it's the kind of goal that you be very careful about proclaiming. The technical.
But belief is not necessarily, to be mostly Christian, belief is not necessary. 8/12s or, right?
Well, it depends on what you mean by belief. See, because I would say that acting out the pattern is the deepest form of belief. Now, you could add to that what you say. So, maybe in the optimal situation, how you act and what you imagine and what you say, they're the same, right? But you can imagine a hypocrite who says all sorts of wonderful things and does nothing.
8/12 Christian.
But, how do you measure faith? We all fall short, period. There's no period. We're sinners. We're born sinners. We're sinners. Been sinners since chapter 3, in the beginning. Yeah, period. We all fall short, and we're all tempted, and we're all, fall short. I fall short today. I fell short 50 times yesterday or even more. But I love Jesus Christ, and I know he loves me, period. If, ands, or buts. And I'm his creation. I'm his light. The measurement on that is nuts. How one human can say 8/12 or whatever they're saying if I'm living up to this standard or this standard. That's just crazy. That's not the way. That's not the purpose of the gospel. He knows all he wants is our heart. All he wants is our love and compassion. All he wants is our heart, period. I'm going to fail again today. Many times. And I'm going to fall short. But, for me, my Not for me. Yeah, for me. Is my pursuit of Him is all I think about these days. I'm a businessman. I've got a bunch of employees and a family and all these things. And if I put anything before Him, it's not what I want anymore, ever anymore. I don't want to live like that. I want to put Him at the absolute top of everything because He saved my life. And each one of these encounters so far has the level of nothing new under the sun. The screw tape is people, little demonic darts of, trying to measure myself as a human. Am I good enough? Am I this? Am I that? He knows that. He loves you, period. He loves you, period. He knows you're a sinner. We're all sinners. Everybody's a sinner. He's a sinner. And for someone to claim that they're 12 out of 12, give me a break. You're not getting it.
I think what they're just trying to break down to some degree. I'm trying to come at this from very, fifth grade elementary understanding as best I can. I think they're just trying to, I think it's in our nature to quantify some things, right? And I think her point is that, look, if somebody had never, you go into the Amazon, into a remote tribe, and no one has heard of Christianity, right? But somehow you have your conscience guiding you that, hey, murder is wrong, adultery is wrong, all these types of sin are wrong, and I'm trying to walk this life, which would get you to, if we were quantifying this, I'm going to say 8/12 Christian, but you didn't even have the other bit of knowledge to know that, hey, Jesus existed and died for you, and that you should profess that and carry that torch and carry that cross. And so I think they're just trying to somehow quantify, like, hey, what's more important? And I think he's getting not attacked, but questioned with regards to, why aren't you finishing the task by proclaiming your faith and announcing that you do believe? And I think it's deterring some people. It's an easy thing to attack against him because he's not being so high on the intellectual prowess scoreboard. He's not an easy character to attack, although he is under constant attack. And so this is a chink in the armor that is getting picked on, I think. And I think we're just seeing that especially through this setup. He's got 20 arrows coming at him and an obvious chink. And so they all jump on it pretty effortlessly.
It's, It's plain to see for me. It's an attack to try to take him out. This all may be a setup as far as I'm concerned, but because he should know better. But the fact that as someone who knows the devil, who's seen that portion, every one of these little things are trying to get you to, trying to take you out, and that sucker tries to take me out every day, every single day, because I'm no longer in his camp. He may or may not be in his camp. I don't know. He said he's not proclaiming he's a Christian, so I'm not sure he's all the way there. He's still being used. But trying to take him out. They're trying to take him out. And that's my opinion on that. And I see the tricks. And it's plain for me to see, because I like I said, I know demonic forces. And this should be easy for him. Kickball. Put Charlie Kirk in here.
I don't know that faith is easy for anyone.
The defense of Christ, you can. It is for me. My faith is.
It's not a constant struggle.
It's a walk in the park. My sin is.
Do they not go hand in hand?
But I know unequivocally for a fact that Jesus Christ loves me and he saved my life. Period. I know that. I don't have any doubts.
Okay. Throw into the next clip. Things intensify.
So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
You think it to be true?
That's the circular definition. What do you mean
How
when
is
you
that
say you
circular?
believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right, so if
What's
you
a
believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it. That's what I mean by that. It isn't something that you say. It isn't something that's associated with logical consistency. It's not declarative. It's not propositional. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's the presupposition of your attention and your action. And you're either fragmented, in which case you worship multiple gods, or there's some unity at the bottom of it that makes you an unstoppable force.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Not really, no.
Okay. So
How
then,
would you define belief? Something you say?
thank you.
It's just we're flawed humans, man. We're flawed, and that's why he came back to save us. That's why he came back to save us. It was all from the moment that the serpent said, did God really say? Did he really say? Well, you know why he doesn't want you to eat the fruit. We're flawed. He created us in his image with free will, and we blew it. We stinking blew it. And he loves us so much that he sent his son to fix it and to save us from ourselves. And to say, I believe, man, nobody's ever going to live up to the standards of the law. No, he's overboard with that. He's overboard with that, you know? If he says, I believe in Jesus Christ, you know, that means that every single thing that he says, that means that, okay, the crazy thought that you have in your head when you're walking down the street and you see somebody that looks like a freak and you pass judgment on them, and they see you or they pass judgment on you, and you know you're saying you'll never have those thoughts again, or you'll never experience any of that type of no, because it's spiritual warfare. The devil is after you to take you out. There's nothing new under the sun. He's going to try to take you. He's going to try to take me out today again. He's trying to take me out right now. He's always going to take me out. I'm not playing on his team anymore. But he's putting too much on that because he's making that word an idol.
The word believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's his idol that he's worshiping that. No, I'm not saying this out to Dr. Peterson, whatever, because I love that guy. I think he's awesome. You know, I really do. And I hate to see him. But again, God's not done with that. But that's an idol. This situation keeps happening. You can't keep saying that and truly say, you know, we're flawed. We failed. We blew it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But he thinks that that's the pinnacle. So my main thought on this, my main theory, without getting too complicated, is this is all just pride. This is Jordan Peterson pride.
Listen, and that's exactly right. And what does the Bible say about pride? It's the only sin that God will oppose you for, right? As far as I know, he will oppose you. That's opposition. If it is truly pride, and that's a great point, then...
So I'm going to unpack that just a little bit, if I may.
Okay, absolutely.
So I think this is all pride. If I had to
Do you
say
think
it in
pride
a
is
word,
a sin?
Yes. And Dr. Jordan Peterson is so revered in so many circles, and he has such a high standard for himself, his clients, and others. I don't think he wants to be seen in anything other than a perfect light, which is also why I think how he's handled some things we've discussed before with like his drug past and things like that. He doesn't want to admit fault, to admit that he made a mistake, that he is fallible. He can't stand the idea of that. And so if he were to say, I believe in God, he will now have been stripped of his perfect, version of himself, meaning now people can call him a hypocrite. And he doesn't like that idea at all when it's pointed at himself, because he sees it in everyone else, right? As I do, my judgmental eyes, that every preacher I've sat in front of, you friggin' hypocrite, right? And that's me, my perfect self, casting that onto that individual. So I think this all just boils down to pride for him. That's all. And he can't stand the idea of him being labeled a hypocrite, which he will be, which he is, right? We all are. But he won't admit that. And why can't he get past that? That's probably why I wanted to chat with you about this today. Is we all know, I mean, no one on the planet is looking at Dr. Jordan Peterson saying, there it is, that's perfect. He's perfect. He is our new JC walking around on the earth, right? No one's thinking that. So why is he putting that on himself? Why is he trying to act as if that he's one step next to that? He's one step removed from that. I don't know.
Well, pride would be a good start, and we all suffer from failing in that regard, somehow. But when you walk around prideful, you will get opposed, and I know it to be true. I do. I know it to be true from my story, and I see it in other people's stories. But when you tell someone, hey, you're being prideful, you better know them pretty good. You better be someone, like if I told you that, I think we're close enough to where you would say, okay, well, all right. You may take offense to it, but you respect me and love me enough or care about me enough to say, okay, why are you saying that? What did I do? What was my action? And how do you perceive that? Now, you may disagree with where I'm coming from, or you may say, well, you're being judgmental on your high horse, which means you'd be more prideful in not accepting someone's, vision or caring and love. Because if I wouldn't say that to you, if I wasn't saying, hey, man, like you would say to me if you saw some of my old behaviors resurfacing, I think you care for me enough to say, hey, you don't look right at this point, because you had your chance to do that a couple times and you didn't, and you regret that because I was in a bad place, and when I'm good and when I'm not. So you would say, because you love me. But when you say, hey, Matt, you're a prideful SOB, or you of course it'd be how you worded it, but that's a big thing to say to somebody. But that's a good point. That you bring up a good point, and you say pride is a sin. What is sin to you? Are we going to go down to 7, or I'm not going to ask you that question?
No,
I can't ask you that question.
This is about Dr. Peterson, not me.
Oh, damn.
Although I appreciate your efforts.
Yeah.
That's the Lord working through you.
To get to you. You're my one more.
So I do think that it also explains for me why he's so combative, and his defenses are as high as possible. There's a clip of him when someone asked him, do you believe in God? Right? The simple question that keeps circling back is, do you believe in God? He was so combative that he said, well, what do you mean by do? And what do you mean by you? And what do you mean by believe? And I felt that was over the top. I mean, it's like if I said, do you like apples? And the person's response was, well, what do you mean by do? And it's like you're deflecting and avoiding. And I mean, coming from a psychologist, you're 10 out of 10 on not getting to the point of the question. And I feel it's disingenuous. And
do you think he's succumbing to the pressures now? I mean, do you feel like all of this, after all this time,
No.
I mean, just the pressure of being in the limelight. Every single interviewer wants to ask that question.
Right.
Everyone wants to ask it. They word it a different way.
Yep.
It's just like, when he discusses, the wage gap or something, and how intimately he talks about, okay, well, 99% of the men, or 99% of the people who are in prison are men, 99% of the bricklayers are men, 99% of the people who die in combat are men, he's very energetic. And again, he puts the target on his back. And, man, it's just so much of an attack. If you were solid in yourself, and again, go back to, man, you could say something to me that'd be hurtful, but I know where my worth and my meaning is. You're not going to take me out. Okay, period. All right. He seems to be susceptible to that particular, over and over and over again. But you are who you are. You've built this thing. You've got to expect it.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to handle this little punk right here. And that guy right there, I mean, he's just, the other people seem respectful or what have you. And I don't know this kid either, but I don't see anything but darkness in that guy right there. Not that guy.
I didn't play the whole bit for you. This kid escalated things as well.
Okay. I didn't see
this is the most viral clip, is the one we're about to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's get into it.
All right. Is it the whole clip? Is it the viral clip?
This is.
Did he talk about Mary in this one?
This is the kid that brought that up,
right.
yes, and Catholicism and the hierarchy within, yeah.
Are you
just
familiar?
didn't understand it.
Are you familiar with the Immaculate Conception?
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure,
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
somewhat.
Okay, you're
Their
familiar.
doctrines are very
How do they
deep.
regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well,
and I mean,
either you're a
'cause I
Christian
won't
or you're
talk
not.
to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell
could be-
you.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression that
private.
I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video,
You're really quite something, you are.
aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a
Okay,
Christian.
I'm done with him.
Well, he has a point about the comment about the title of the video.
Yeah.
He's
Completely.
not wrong.
He's not
He's
wrong.
not wrong.
He's not wrong. And we
He
said
was
earlier, the video.
super sassy. Look at the look on his face and that pause right there. But man, the kid's not wrong. He's super sassy, and he's trying to approach. I guess he's trying to approach Mary in the worship of Mary in Catholicism, and where they put the hierarchy of the Catholic religion, and the deity of Mary, and how they revere Mary and what have you. And I'm not going to get into the Catholic thing, but that's what he was circling to, I think, before it ended up to that. It's like, okay, was he going to try to pin him on idolatry on that? I wish, I don't know. I don't worship Mary, and that's not my thing. And then I'm not saying whatever, but where was he? Because the preceding clip had that part about Mary, and this is the part that was picked out because he wiped him out right there, man. And Jordan should have, I don't know, in the moment, recognized that little demon, because he was coming at him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not the most productive form of.
Yeah, I wonder.
Dialogue.
Over time, I wonder what this is going to do to him. How this is really going to. How. So since then, he hasn't said anything, right, Jordan?
Not that I've seen. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that little snot-nosed little rat. Yeah, he's that little guy had the makings of some horns on his head.
He was hoping for his viral moment for sure.
He got it. My goodness, he got it.
Whoever,
can you imagine?
Whoever captures the content, right? Whoever's owning the footage behind the cameras, or whoever the interviewer is, whatever, that is finally there. And he's not going to do it in that platform, I don't think. If Jordan ever decides to come out and say it, I don't think he's not going to fall victim to a pressure, high stakes moment like that. He's just going to come out and release his own thing on his own platform, I would imagine.
As far as his declaration?
Yeah. If he ever does. And I agree with Jordan in the sense that, hey man, is
this a setup for all that?
You wonder, right? That would that would be the follow up if there was a time.
Then if you're doing something like that, then that man, you're using that for the use. That's no good.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if he actually set this up to make this big unveiling of his faith, I don't think that's
disingenuous in itself. That if you need to build yourself up to make that sort of announcement,
the Lord doesn't want you. That's not the type of behavior.
Yeah, I don't think that's good.
Yeah, that's something. I'm curious to see the fallout from here. But again, I'll go back to say, regardless of what happens, you can't, as a Christian, you can't deny the introduction of the biblical narratives across the globe through him. And, period. Why he stopped short, God has a plan. God knows what's going on. But man, he's spread the gospels, and he spread the stories, and he's very impactful, as far as that goes. It's undeniable, even, as a Christian.
Yeah.
And of course I'm pulling for him. I want to hear him say, dear goodness, regardless of whether he used this whole situation as a setup, he can be forgiven for that too. You can be forgiven for anything. You can be forgiven for blasphemy's a tough one, but anyway.
All right, I pulled up some Bible verses regarding professing your faith. So thought I'd read Matthew 10:32. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny before my Father who is in heaven. Now, I'm not saying Jordan is denying it, but he's certainly not acknowledging it either. So he's somewhere in the gap. But I think he's got himself convinced maybe that if he has acknowledged it privately, right, and maybe in his heart, I do feel that how he's behaving and lashing out at people that ask is a denial. I do feel that it is a denial versus just, hey, I'm being private. I'm walking in my faith the best that I can as a person in my life. And I'll speak about everything biblical that I can, and I'll stop short at acknowledging. And
well, look what Peter did, and Jesus told him he would do it 3 times before the rooster crows. And then he built his entire church on, Peter, who was a train wreck, But I agree with you in that this, you could call this denial. And from that verse alone.
So you feel it is far enough behavior wise that
I wouldn't want to mess with like that. I ain't messing around like that. I wouldn't do it.
That's a good point, right? If he talks so much about taking chances and act, your actions speak louder than your words, kind of a thing. But
if you put putting so much emphasis on the biblical narrative, there it is. That is what Jesus said.
That's an act.
Yes,
right.
He said that.
I think Jordan's interpreting it as that it's just words, which I could make a worldly statement, but I don't think biblically that holds water. I think that is an act, right? Acknowledging it isn't just words; it is an act, right? You're demonstrating acts, but your words acknowledge. Mm-hmm. And anyway. Of course, Jordan wouldn't want us to define every word, but
I mean,
I do think that,
and I'm not the Almighty, or I'm not the 12 out of 12 Christian, but
12 out of 12.
I would never say the things he's saying, and because I would feel like I was denying Christ if I was saying things like that. Well, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean? Over and over. Anyway, I think you have another.
Yeah.
Keep reading
No,
Bible.
that's it.
Keep
That's
reading
it.
Bible
That's
verses.
all the clips we've got for you anyway. Prepared.
No, you're
There's a
not
million
going to
of
keep
them out
reading
there.
Bible verses. I like hearing you read Bible verses. It makes me happy.
I threw that in there for you. I mean, it's obviously on topic, but I knew you would like that. That's all I got.
But you have so much more.
Jordan Peterson.
You walk the walk. You're a good man.
No.
Yes, you are. You're a good guy. Your actions, your giving, your caring, your kindness, you are all of those things.
And full of sin.
Yeah, sure. So am I.
So there's that.
And he forgives you.
Oof, man. Having belief in that would be
Faith.
would be something. Would be
Faith.
something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks
It
for
is
joining.
something.
I'm
I'm
glad you believe.
He's going to start
that.
to edit. click.
Trim this out.
Well, thank
The
you for
power of
bringing up a
editing.
topic that we could talk about the Lord and faith, and that's cool. And I know you did that just so you could use my gun room for your show. No, that's a joke. It's because he loves me. You do, and he cares about me. But no, I enjoy this. Anytime I can talk about Jesus and what he's done for me, I'll talk about it to anybody and profess my faith to anyone because he loves me. He saved my life from terrible, terrible, terrible darkness. And I've heard his voice. I've seen his face. But I also understand spiritual warfare and the devil. And I've seen his face too. And all he wants to do is destroy us. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he's trying to take this man out, and he should know that. And he should know that because it's right in front of him that he's coming to take him out. And that may be because of the way he has spread, his biblical knowledge. And all of a sudden, he's getting, a small little demon from Screw Tape Letters to take him out. He should know better. He should see this, but that may be why this is happening. And again, it's spiritual warfare. I know whose side I'm on. Amen.
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 Catch you on the next one.